Hello ladies and gents, welcome back to Chaos TV's live coverage of the Riot Turkey International Invitational 2, Day 5 out of 7. This is going to be game number 2 between Dignitas UK and Millenium. If you have just joined us or rejoined us after the issues we were having earlier, Game 1 went to Dignitas UK after somewhat of a massive snowball down the hill after around 25-30 minutes. I'm at this joined by Rapid once again, and we are right into the picks and bans.
And looking at last game and then comparing it ultimately to this pick and ban phase, it was a very anticlimactic game for the first 10-15 minutes. Not a whole lot happening. It was a 3-1 advantage in kills for Millenium. And then all of a sudden Samwise decided to, I don't know, hop into the closet, change into his carry pants, finish that last game 14-0-5, I believe it was. Something crazy like that. Just ridiculously strong performance from his AD carry. Whereas Millenium running double AD carries, Caitlyn on Schleia and then Vayne on Nanook, really had a rough time dealing with the Dignitas engage after a huge Renekton and Jarvan just continually like flash initiate, Cataclysm all over their faces. A little bit too much for them to handle. Game number 2 is going to result in Corki being the first pick away from Samwise. Millenium do not want to have that happen again.
Completely understandable as well. That I was expecting Corki to be banned or first pick from Millenium. That's exactly what they did. Samwise finished 14-0-6 last game, completely decimating faces, and you really can't blame Millenium for picking this one up. Question now: how will Dignitas counteract the Corki at bot lane? We see a lot of AD carries picking Caitlyn. It is regarded as being a straight counter to Corki because of her range, and Corki's quite a short-range, bursty AD carry, and that's exactly what looks to be happening here. They're probably going to go for Caitlyn Thresh. Makes a lot of sense.
But where's the Kassadin? We saw an absolutely incredible performance from Alchemist in game number 1. Surprised they wouldn't pick up like a jungle, and if you notice, there's Jarvan the 4th, he's up. He's one of the best junglers we've seen so far this tournament. Also has one of the highest win rates. I think the highest win rate of any jungler in North America currently in the Challenger competitive scene. So Jarvan's up, Kassadin's up, Teemo also available, but probably won't see that here from Schleia.
Yep, that is true. I think they're just kind of trolling around a tiny bit here. Lee Sin does make a lot of sense. I'm not sure about in North America right now, Rapid, but in Europe, Lee Sin is top tier jungle pick. Is it the same in NA?
You know, he's top 3. Definitely be Elise up at the top, and then Jarvan and, of course, Lee Sin there. But especially in games versus Jarvan specifically, Lee Sin is actually, I think he has 46% win rate, whereas Jarvan, of course, has the 54. So it's a little bit more heavily in favor of Jarvan. But for I'm So Fresh, as what I would consider a Lee Sin main, I mean, granted, he plays just about everything under the sun, but as a Lee Sin main, it's the first time we've seen him play Lee Sin in the Riot Turkey International Invitational, so he's going to be bringing it out, but as somebody who's played a lot of that champion, not on the tournament realm, it's nice to see that strength there. Probably will be going up against the Jarvan, so we'll have to see if that Jarvan versus Lee Sin win rate advantage continues over here in EU.
I have to bring some attention as a bot main myself to this really powerful face-off between Corki Leona, which is regarded as a very, very scary lane to play up against. It's effectively a kill lane because the passive that Leona puts on you and then the just absolute armor shred that Corki will lay down afterwards with his Gatling gun can honestly take people by surprise by how much burst damage it does. But then on the flip side, Caitlyn Thresh, very much harassment and also a playmaking duo. I'm honestly really looking forward to this. I hope that both duo lanes go to bot because that's going to be a spectacle within itself. That being said though, have a quick look at Dignitas' 3rd and 4th pick here. Gragas and Lissandra. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, as I see both AP carries picked up at the same time, probably will be a top lane Lissandra for Nitrix. But Alchemist on the mid lane had a great performance on Kassadin, so expect to see more just consistent play, less hyper carry. Speaking of hyper carrying, really looking forward to seeing Samwise's performance this game as compared to Nanook, who had a rough time in lane, but it was less Nanook's vulnerability and more just Samwise absolutely carrying ridiculously hard. So with such an incredibly high engaged potential from Millenium, they're going to lock in a LeBlanc as their last pick to go up against whatever Dignitas want to run mid.
I would expect to see Gragas mid. Alchemist is Dignitas' mid laner as well, so that would kind of put more credence there. But of course, this can switch around, because now that they've seen LeBlanc, they have two characters that are viable at top and mid respectively, and they can switch it round. This is going to keep Millenium on their toes, on the tips of their toes, and really make them second guess themselves. What I would expect to see here is Gragas against LeBlanc in mid, but they may try something as well that's a bit out of the ordinary, with maybe running duo lane mid as well, and just trying to completely shut down LeBlanc, because she is a snowballing character. If you shut her down in lane, she's not going to have as strong of a mid game as a lot of LeBlanc players would like. So I think we could potentially see something being pulled out from Dignitas.
They have some options, not only for champion rotations, either having a Gragas or Lissandra in that standard solo lane versus Schlaya's LeBlanc, but like you mentioned, rotating lanes for a duo mid 2v1 is not something that LeBlanc does incredibly well with early on, really used to pressuring and abusing a lot of just the 1v1 matchups. Gragas would work very well against LeBlanc, as a lot of tankiness, a lot of sustain, and percentage damage reduction always effective in that matchup. But something that's probably going to be more interesting for me is, we were talking about the Lee Sin pickup for I'm So Fresh. It's actually going to be at the top lane on Doigby, going up, or joined by I'm So Fresh on Jarvan in the jungle.
Yeah, that's actually very, very interesting, and how that's going to turn into a Lee Sin versus Lissandra more than likely, because Doigby is the top laner for Millenium, Nitrix is the top laner for Lissandra, and honestly, Lee Sin against Lissandra is not something I see a great deal of, Rapid. I mean, if they were to go 1 versus 1 together, how would you see that one playing off?
The way that you play Lee Sin, at least in the North American Challenger meta, is as a split pusher. You actually max his W's, so using the sustain from Iron Will and Safeguard's shield to give you a lot of an advantage in lane. And actually, a lot of top lane Lee Sins will put kind of do Corki masteries, so they'll use 21 offense, but they'll get the offense in both the magic penetration and the armor penetration, so that you get a little bit of AP too, which helps with the shield from Safeguard as well. It just makes you a pretty high sustained top lane monster. I'll have to keep an eye on Doigby, see how he decides to play that, what the level 1 lane matchups are, and all that and more coming your way as Chaos TV's presentation of the Riot Turkey International Invitational 2 continues with game number 2 in the best of 3 series as Millenium take on Team Dignitas. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Chaos TV's presentation of the Riot Turkey International Invitational number 2. I am Rapid, joined alongside by Metas, and we're going to get this game underway. It's game 2 in the best of 3 series. Dignitas UK in the red, looking to close things out against Team Millenium, who are coming out in the blue. And after a dominant game 1 performance from Samwise, he's on Caitlyn now, going up against the Corki he used in game 1. We'll see if Nanook can have a similar performance here from Millenium.
It is going to be tough, but Nanook is a very good AD carry, and definitely one to watch out for here. A quick correction, I said Nitrix was the top laner for Lissandra in picks and bans. That was a bit of a herp-derp moment from me, so I apologise for that, as some of you guys in chat did mention. But looks as though both teams are by and large fairly content to just kind of wait around, some of them recalling in, and actually they're going to be occupying one another's jungle, so pretty much just a straight up counter jungle from both teams.
Interesting position there for Dignitas. The bush they chose to camp wouldn't have been warded, but if they had passed through a ward on their way in, obviously it wouldn't have been necessarily a kill bush, just waiting in the wings for that blue buff. And it's like both blue buffs, at least as far as the early game is concerned, will get given over to their respective junglers, stealing them away and making a trip kind of lateral jungling through both the opponent's jungle and their own. And now we will see both junglers sort of return to their own lanes, but Millenium want a very specific lane matchup, and so that's why they actually sent the dual lane into lane a little bit late, just to ensure that they would get the matchup they want. It's going to be 2v2 mid. We'll actually get the sort of Schleia going up against Nitrix, so it's the AP carry versus the traditional top laner. It's still a matchup that he's not unfamiliar with.
And this is actually what I said in Champion Select. I expected to see the dual lane for Dignitas going up against LeBlanc, or at least trying to make that, because similar to Kassadin, if you have a really weak early game as LeBlanc, you start to fall off in mid-game. You need the item. She's so item dependent. So very quick re-rotate here from Millenium to make sure that they don't put her
Nitrix
mid.
Nitrix in a lot of trouble. He's up in the second bush, and I'm pretty sure I'm So Fresh knows about it. Gonna wait for Nitrix to show himself, and now he's way too overextended. There's the ice path backwards immediately. Does not want to go in on this. Doesn't know where I'm So Fresh is, and knows that with the lane pushed, can't go anywhere near there.
Yeah, meanwhile, they're going to be pushing the mid lane. So Caitlyn and Thresh are doing pretty much what you expected them to do, and that's just harass and bully Corki and Leona. But once they start to hit level 3, level 4, and Leona can put a couple of points into her Eclipse, then you could very well see the Zenith Blades going in and them trying to capitalize on the passive and Armor Shred. Meanwhile, Vite is going up to top lane. There is no ward here. Going to be going in with the Vault Breaker, trying to make some plays on Doigby right now, doing a lot of damage to him. Simply not going to be enough, and he gets back to his tower.
Flashes down for Millennium's top lane Lee Sin, and in a 1v2, at least for now, be able to clear out that wave at turret fairly effortlessly. So as far as jungle pressure, the early game hasn't really amounted to all that much. It's going to be I'm So Fresh stealing away the Wolf Camp too, as he looks to go in on a 3-on-2 gank in the middle lane. Zenith Blade does not land, but there's the knockup onto Samwise. He actually nets away instead of taking the Lantern. Forced to burn barrier there as well. There's actually the flash. I'm So Fresh auto attacks. The minion will go down here. He's going to try to suicide. Gives the kill over to Yarrow, but now Nanook going to go down to the Flay empowered auto attack from Yarrow. So overall, a 2-for-1 in favor of Dignitas.
Yep, they did get the first blood, and something that I guess is going to be somewhat of a small relief or bit of respite for Millenium is that it was Yarrow who picked up both kills and the double buff. However, Yarrow with the double buff is going to be even more dangerous now in the lane, because it's going to have the XP advantage plus the red buff to constantly harass. Going to do actually quite a lot of damage here in the lane, already starting to push Leona out of this lane. It's actually brutal to watch, and when Caitlyn gets back into lane, it's going to be even worse.
Not level 6, so no headshots left to come in, no aces in the holes, but gets flayed in there. One auto attack, and it's exactly like you said, Metas. As soon as Euro got back in there, just nothing that Leona could do. Got hooked, got flayed, and that's about the end of the story. A story that ends with a very happy ending. A kill going this time over to Samwise.
Yeah, it seemed a bit needless to me. If I saw that one coming, then I have to assume that Daoud would have seen it coming too. And it seemed like a bit of a needless death there. And as you said, it went to Samwise. So it's not just the case now that Thresh has all the kills. Now Samwise is starting to get ahead. And we saw from game number 1, Rapid, if you give him a lead, he is going to take your arm. He is going to go the full distance with it. So pretty bad news in mid lane here for Millenium.
Yes, for Millenium, this game is kind of like an Amumu. As you start unwrapping it, it just gets harder and harder to keep things together. Mid lane is still a duo, but there's actually Dude on top of a trap once again. Gets flayed back on top of another trap. Perfect combo there, and now he could actually go down to Piltover. Peacemaker misses. Dude stays alive, but Yarrow and Samwise, their synergy in lane, just absolutely devastating the duo from Millenium.
The double buffs is really paying out dividends for Dignitas UK as well, and I think they'll be saying, I'm so fresh, you really shouldn't have flashed in to get first blood, because in doing so, the duo lane in mid is so far ahead right now. This is brutal, and it's just going to go from bad to worse. Smart mind games from Yarrow, throwing the lantern back, trying to simulate that the jungler was there, and it forced the Valkyrie instantly from the nuke. He's like, okay, I don't want any part of this mid lane anymore, I'm going to wait for Leona.
A lot of mind games coming up from Yarrow, and I especially liked the Caitlyn trap into flay back into a second Caitlyn trap. Just really nice moves. Samwise and Yarrow definitely looking for a reprise performance from game number 1. And with I'm So Fresh spending a lot of time bottom lane trying to get Schleia ahead, it's the safe, calculated performance from Nitrix, not overextending. Looked really iffy. I'm So Fresh had the chance to take out Nitrix early on, but just safe playing from him all along has kept him not only alive but deathless, and really has prevented I'm So Fresh from capitalizing on that early kill.
Yeah, so it's just the case right now of mid lane is fairly stacked in Dignitas' favour. Let's have a look elsewhere though. How is the CS? How is the gold looking? Gragas is slightly behind Lee Sin, but only by a couple of CS. And meanwhile at bot lane there's only a 5 CS difference. So really the big power plays are in this mid right now. The rest of the map by and large even.
We are here at the 8-minute mark, so nothing too crazy going on other than that early on dive. The duo for Dignitas very strong. Now Schleia gonna drop a lot of burst damage onto Nitrix, drops the ignite, and there's the tether. One more auto attack, and that's gonna be all she wrote. Schleia stays in range just long enough for the glacial prison, but he gets paroled almost immediately, and will be there to finish clearing up the wave. Not only a kill going the way of Schleia, but also going to be a huge wave of minions lost for Nitrix.
Yes, and on top of that, a flash was burnt as well. So when it comes back to lane, if you get caught by the snare, you are going to be in deep, deep trouble as Lissandra. And this is exactly what we're talking about. You allow Schleia LeBlanc to start getting snowballing, it's a very scary character. So that mid lane presence somewhat being negated by bot lane doing very well, so Lissandra is not going to be too strong. Vi coming around from the side, and with this tower very low, they may try and make some plays. That being said though, Impaler is stood on top of a ward here, Rapid.
The least effective of all ganks are the ones started out by being on a ward. Nitrix, as soon as it gets back to lane, I'm So Fresh right there is a welcome party, and that's the kind of turret dives you're looking for, helping Schleia get even further ahead. And with the mid lane turret falling for Dignitas, Millenium will answer with a turret of their own.
Really, really smart play from Millenium there, realizing that not only was the flash burnt from Nitrix, but Frozen Tomb was as well. So his invulnerability was also not available. So they wanted to pounce on top of that and to snowball LeBlanc as quickly as possible. They've also picked up the tower, so just good news all around. Yes, mid lane's been getting a battering, but LeBlanc is 2-0 with 54 CS. She is going to be very scary going into the next 10 or so minutes.
While LeBlanc may be scary, you can see she's going to be rushing the Deathfire Grasp. Keep in mind Samwise as well, 20 CS advantage, and as strong as that does make the dual lane for Team Dignitas, it's the first global objective of the game other than the even turrets. in that Dragon going over to Millenium. They secure for themselves a 1,000 gold advantage and really aren't facing all that much adverse circumstances. There's Dorkby gonna get the flash in, and Paler, there's gonna be the flash back underneath the turret. Safeguard away Doigby. So much action in the bottom lane. The flash is in, flash is out. Just managed to stay alive.
I've got to say, that was beautifully played by Doigby there. Actually, Dragon's Rage the Alchemist away and then flash back to his tower. So that made a massive amount of geographical difference between Impaler and Alchemist, where they were no longer anywhere near each other. Suddenly Alchemist is way behind Impaler, and then he just safeguards onto a minion. So he played that perfectly. Had he have made a small mistake, he would have died. That being said though, Rapid, even though he played well, he still loses his tower.
That's true. Dignitas went very hard for that gank, but at the same time, it wasn't necessarily just about picking up a kill with the minion wave incoming. They just needed a little bit of extra damage in the lane, and without Doigby there, pressured off the turret, that is going to be the second turret of the game for Team Dignitas UK. And with that turret coming their way, they do even the gold count back up just about 400 difference between the teams. And of course, while Millenium are ahead, both teams are ahead in different areas. The dive bottom lane onto Samwise. Dark Passageway, the darkest of passageways, is now I'm So Fresh box on top of box there, on top of Euro. Thought there was going to be more follow-up, and now with Slayer coming in from behind, Nanook's there as well, but I'm So Fresh a little bit ahead of the rest of his team.
And the good news there for Millenium is that Nanook picked up the kill, so a lot of the battering that they were receiving in mid has somewhat been alleviated with him picking up that kill. But Nitrix is taking this opportunity to push the creep wave down mid, so they are trying to still make some pressure plays across the map. But as big as Caitlyn, as big as Samwise has become in mid, getting the free farm, pushing the tower down, LeBlanc is a character that can completely delete Samwise off the map with just one rotation, especially as you said that she is building towards the Deathfire Grasp first. When that's finished off, watch for 100 to 0 kind of damage coming in from Schleier's LeBlanc.
And as soon as LeBlancs get to that level, it's always a little bit rough to start watching, because there's not a lot of counterplay against that. If you dodge the Chains of Corruption, that's good. That's probably your best option, but not really necessary to complete her burst combo, and especially with Deathfire Grasp coming as soon as she goes back to base. Let's check out the gold count right now. Sitting on, 1,600. We'll have at least a needlessly large rod for that component. Picking up a blue buff. Shlaya walks back into lane against Nitrix, someone who is all too well acquainted with the kind of damage that she's starting to deal.
So let's have a quick. In fact, I'm just switched over to mid to see that Nitrix lost nearly half of his hit points there, courtesy of a couple spells from Schleier, who now has the blue buff and a 1.8k in his back pocket. So that is enough for a needlessly large rod. When he goes back, more than likely going to be saving actually just to finish off Deathfire Grasp instantaneously, unless he gets a bit of pressure from Impaler on Vi. Doesn't look likely for the foreseeable future, however. Top lane is pretty much just a farming frenzy. Doigby's getting harassed here from Alchemist, but I don't think that they're really going to kick anything off just yet with both junglers occupying mid.
We've been seeing a lot of action around the map, and while Doigby survived the 2-on-1 top from Alchemist and Impaler, the 1v1 has been somewhat anticlimactic. It's just been farming, a lot of zeros in both of those compositions. Bottom lane is going to be Assault and Battery right on top of Impaler. Goes down instantly. Not enough follow-up from Samwise and Yarrow, who just were not there in time. Flashed over the wall from I'm So Fresh, goes and gets the knock-up onto Euro. Samwise trying to run away with just about 110 HP. Euro will go down there into Nook on a killing spree.
Yep, and that, in a nutshell, is the terror of Leona Corki. There's just so much burst damage. Impaler was not expecting it, and Caitlyn simply couldn't get close enough with Yarrow to make an impact. And that is really why you pick Corki Leona in lane, because the passive stack very well together, and also that armor shred from Gatling gun too. Samwise is very low. He needs to be careful right now that he doesn't get caught out from that Cataclysm. Pushes back the creep wave, should be just fine. But what started off as being very one-sided in Dignitas' favor is very quickly turning into a bit of a nightmare for them. As you said, Nanook picks up that kill. He's now 3-in-1 with double buffs, has enough gold to go back to spawn and finish off his Trinity Force. That's a big power spike for Corki.
And while Corky is going to be able to pick up the big core item in his inventory, you can see it coming out there in that Trinity Force. Samwise does have a Bloodthirster, so it's a good laning item. It keeps him relevant because, of course, he will be able to stack up additional attack damage as he continues to farm in lane. But farming may be over for Millenium, as they have not only picked up an incredible advantage onto Schleia, who's looking to actually push down this top turret with Alchemist there to defend middle lane. We're going to see the rotation of Doigby coming down to join the duo lane of Millenium, as they are now looking to turn on to Dragon, respawning in about 14 seconds. Word cover started to come out as Millenium prep for this objective.
Yeah, and right now I feel that Millenium just have the stronger team with stronger items on their side. Double buff Nanook with Triforce is going to do a lot more damage than Caitlyn's Bloodthirster. Fair enough, has a couple components of Zeal as well, but you can see the respect coming down as well from Dignitas UK. They probably know that Dragon has been started, but they were a bit slow to the punch there, and Dragon has already fallen as a result. In fact, Millenium are trying to trap them right now, but Yero's just popped down a ward, and they will be backing away. In fact, they're going back in for seconds. Daoud has just shown himself, and they will back away too. So, free Dragon.
Dragon going down there. It's going to be the second Dragon of the game, coming back with Dignitas in the middle lane off of not securing that objective. We look to take down another one, and instead of pressuring the bottom outer turret, which is of course the last outer turret left up for Millenium, we're going to go for the secondary turret in the mid. Doigby actually backing the base now, will complete his Ravenous Hydra, which will be great for split pushing. You can see he's actually headed up towards that top lane, but with this turret defense on Millenium's mind, will run back up to mid. Deathfire Grasp going to come in the way of Schleia as he does pick that one up when he heads back to base. Not a very fast push here from Dignitas.
Not particularly, and they're starting to back away. Can I just confirm with you what time you're on here, Rapid? Because I have a feeling that my client is a couple seconds behind. Are you on 17:28 now?
Yes, 9:30, 31.
Okay, so I'm about a second
good.
behind, but it should be fine. Sorry, I was just asking because it seems like sometimes I'm a tiny bit behind you. But as you said, Deathfire Grasp was picked up, and Dignitas UK weren't really feeling like pushing mid too much harder, so they go ahead and back on off.
And so at least for now, Dignitas, with an unsuccessful push down mid, come back with a little bit of a disadvantage off of that, because anytime you're pushing a lane, that gives a little bit more of an opportunity for Millenium to go back to base, to get their big buys, and to come back in your face even stronger. And that's exactly what you can see. The Ravenous Hydra, Deathfire Grasp, and Trinity Force, all those big power item buys coming out right now from Millenium. So with a huge power spike coming their way, expect to see Schleia in a little bit of trouble. Alchemist is up there as well as Impaler. There's actually going to be the Mimic. Use the Mimic Distortion just to put a little bit more distance between Schleia and his pursuers. Bottom lane is actually
bot lane as well. Nitrix got caught with his pants down, trying to pick up that blue buff. Could pay with his life. However, trying to turn this one back round. Can the Q land? No, and now Doigby's in a pretty precarious position with Thresh coming from one side and Samwise the other. This is a horrible situation, but he's landed the Q, and he could very well escape. Ace the Hole comes through. It's not enough damage. The big plays from Doigby. I have to question Nitrix standing so close though. Had he have just backed away, further away from the tower, the Q would not have landed from Doigby there.
Doigby, so impressive this entire tournament. For fans of Millenium, they've been following the roster for a long time. That works out that way. Impaler actually in the mid lane will go down. Daoud's Ignite will grab that last tick to pick up the kill. Now Schleia getting pulled back into the turret. Death Sentence gonna take him out there. It's Samwise to finish off the kill. But going back to that play by Doigby, he's been kind of one of the quieter members of Millenium. Sure, Schleia, Nanook, I'm So Fresh, been around for a long time, and even Daoud to some extent. And Doigby really starting to just come out with a ridiculous performance so far in the International Invitational #2. And as one of the carries here for Millenium, it's nice to see him going for not just that same sort of split push Lee Sin strategy, but having the plays to back it up.
Oh yeah, definitely the case. And I'm still kind of a bit speechless there. Actually, oh my god, the burst damage from both of these AP carries at top, and it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, both ults being popped in the process. My goodness, did you catch that, Rapid? That was like 100-0 from both of them on each other.
We've been talking about Schleia and the degree to which he's snowballed, but just passive, consistent farming from Alchemist gives him basically the same result. Doesn't have that DFG completed, but Schleia, I think he bit off a little bit more than he could chew. He's kind of feeling himself 3-0-0 with a Deathfire Grasp. I mean, I would be too, but having a little bit of a rough time after a literal run-in there with Alchemist. Leaves both teams at even with just 1-1, so a little bit of an anticlimactic exchange as both of them do fall, but still, just goes to show you that both mid laners are still very relevant, still very capable of fulfilling their roles in this upcoming team fight. I guess I should probably ask you, Metas, what do you see from this next upcoming team fight? I mean, mid laners being equivalently strong like we just saw, where are the advantages that give the winning team the outcome?
I think it purely depends on the execution of who makes that pixel perfect play first, because you can see that Millenium are now starting to bully Dignitas UK out of bot lane. They're starting to bully them away from mid lane as well, which is very low actually, 483 hit points remaining. I feel Millenium really want to fight right now. Solar Flare comes down, Samwise AD carry has been completely demolished from Schleia right from the backside. Impaler's flashing up red right now. That's fine. That's one of the tankiest characters in the game is being slaughtered. But now Lyssandra's turning the tables.
Flay
beautiful Flay. Absolutely amazing from Yero. Pushing back I'm So Fresh halfway through the flag and drag, and that will secure them a kill. Such big plays from both these teams.
2 for 1 in favor of Dignitas, a little bit over aggressive. The combo was there for Millenium, but just a perfect job disengaging. Impaler at about 500 HP actually went back into the fight to lock up I'm So Fresh. You that wind up getting taken out there at the very end by a nice little ice shard there from Nitrix, who is now 2-3-0. Looking for an Abyssal Scepter first, just to kind of synergize with Alchemist's burst damage. He's probably going to be building that Zhonya's Hourglass first, which is a deviation from the traditional Gragas build. 100% of Gragas's go for Chalice of Harmony into Athene's Unholy Grail. And while it's not actually 100%, that is the vast majority of that mid lane Gragas build. But knowing that he's going up against Schleia's LeBlanc, realizes he needs the ability to block that burst damage, to LeBlanc that burst damage, as it were. He's going to rush his Zhonya's to do it.
I see what you did there, Rapid. I see what you did. That Flay, though, I've still got a massive grin on my face from that Flay. It was such a big play from Yarrow, who's now landed the death sentence. That's a 4 versus 2 situation. Not a good place for Millenium to be in. However, meanwhile, the AD carry of Samwise has been completely demolished in the mid lane from Schleia once again.
So kills come down in both lanes, but like we were talking about in game number 1, it's not the kills you get, it's what you do with them. And off of that, it's going to be a turret taken down, uncontested top lane for a Nanook. But like we mentioned, a kill and a turret coming the way of Dignitas down bottom. That was really off of just plain ward coverage. Nobody saw, or at least Doigby didn't see anyone from Dignitas converging down to the bottom lane, and all of a sudden, 4 people is going to send you back to base the hard way. Cias have about 5 seconds to respawn. There's going to be the immediate dunk onto Impaler. Euro's just like, alright, time for a dark passage out, and all of a sudden you realize why Thresh is a little bit of a counter to Jarvan.
Yeah, instantly getting away out of the Cataclysm. The Nook needs to be careful here because Alchemist, as we saw previously, has some serious burst damage to contend with. That being said, Explosive Cask and the Ignite are both unavailable for him right now, so Corki will manage to escape. That being said as well, though, top tower has taken a battering. 245 hit points remaining. So slowly but surely, Millenium are whittling down these towers and they are stamping their authority globally on the map. As soon as that top tower falls, it's just going to give them free reigns to start roaming around the red buff, and they already have the same situation around blue. We saw Doigby make the big play after stealing the blue buff away from Nitrix. I feel that's going to be rinsed and repeated. And as you said before, lots of Lee Sin players want to just split push. Doigby seems to be doing just that.
So while Doigby will be able to do that, and Nitrix having a little bit of a rough time himself, has built up magic resistance in the form of an Abyssal Scepter, won't quite cut it against Doigby's physical damage, who also has a Hex Drinker for some effectiveness in that matchup. Alchemist has finally farmed up his Zhonya's Hourglass, and so has that to block that burst damage. So in the next one-on-one trade, all that burst damage is really gonna be it's gonna be about when you hit the Zhonya's. If you get silenced out there, if you can't hit it quite in time, Alchemist could find himself still dead. But a lot of outplay potential there from a Zhonya's Hourglass first on Gragas. We'll be going for that Fiend's Unholy Grail coming out second. Just a little bit of a reversed build.
So we are now in, once again, that stage where objectives aren't really that available to either team, barring maybe top lane, because as I said before, 245 hit points remaining. Dragon is dead. Baron is definitely not in the cards just yet until a couple of picks, or until a couple of players get very low and have to recall. So bot lane, just consistent harassment, bombarding. This is e-bully. Nitrix gets kicked back by Dogby, who slightly miscalculates how much damage the Dragon's Rage was going to do, and in doing so, he's actually put himself in a precarious position. He is very fast, however, with that boost of mobility, and he will manage to escape.
Getting out alive from that, you can see so much done by Millenium just to pick off one kill, but somewhat unsuccessful in that regard. We'll still be able to take down that top turret. I'm so fresh up there to take it out. Engaged mid lane, not effective. Death sentence goes out there from Euro. Won't quite be able to catch anybody out just yet. This carries from Millenium, kind of having a bit of a laugh there in the mid lane as Schleien and Nook continue to push that one out. Side lane coverage by the top and jungle. I'm so fresh. Shoving out the top is not really too threatened out there by Nitrix, as it is Alchemist left split push against Doigby. Doigby finishes his trip back to base. Krabs boots of mobility. Going to be extremely mobile there, and pretty much the same thing from I'm So Fresh. So both of them are really going to sort of group up with Millenium, force a 5v5, and then back off, split to the side lanes, and be able to rotate faster because of those 5-speed boots.
Yep, and the fact of the matter is that all three inner towers stand tall, proud, and full hit points right now from Millenium's perspective, whereas on the flip side, just the middle inner tower stands for Dignitas UK. So that means that the minions are going to be pushing much more frequently into Dignitas UK's inhib top and bottom towers, and therefore they're going to be feeling claustrophobic. They're going to feel like they're being choked out a tiny bit, and Millenium are just constantly barraging down. I feel that maybe at some point Dignitas are going to go ahead and try and make something happen. They're going to go for a desperation play, flag and drag away, flashing as well from I'm So Fresh. The explosive cast knocks them further away, and that's the kind of thing they need to watch out for. Dignitas UK, you can sense they're urgent about trying to make some plays, because they realize if they don't, they could end up losing this game very slowly and painfully.
Yarrow did scout out I'm So Fresh coming over the double golem wall. He is going to be also on top of wards, so walking kind of the wrong way there. Takes a couple of autos from Samwise, and for now Millenium, with much stronger carries, find themselves in an advantageous position, something that they never really they had for the first 5 to 10 minutes of game number 1, but haven't quite been able to find, or never found again, in that series, or in that game. As the series continues, Millenium, now solidly in the driver's seat, have a very strong engage potential, but are choosing to split push instead and try to catch, or try to force Dignitas to make a mistake as they try to stop that push.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see how the tables have turned, because in the first game, as you say, apart from the first 5-10 minutes where Millenium were looking pretty good, it was pretty much Dignitas UK that were dictating the pace. They had the control, they had the power of the game and how it was going to be played. Whereas this time around, Millenium are in that position. Dignitas UK, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. We know how good they're at snowballing. When it comes to defending, though, I've always felt that they're a tiny bit more vulnerable. They do tend to make big plays that sometimes backfire. So it's now a case of, can Millenium close this game out, or will they allow Dignitas UK a second chance? They're playing it well so far, I feel Rapid. They're picking up the objectives, they've got complete control over Dragon, and they're getting slowly but surely ahead, now just over 6.3k gold in the lead. But they need to be able to finish this game off, because if you allow Dignitas UK to farm up, they are going to take their opportunities.
And so for now, the engage trying to come out there by Dignitas, but once again disengaged. A little bit too strong. There's Nook will Valkyrie away. Keep in mind, Dude's still coming back from base, so it's going to be a while before he gets back into lane. And if you'll notice, support itemization changing up a little bit for Leona, going for a Spectre's Cowl. Is recognizing he has one thing to worry about, and that's going to be the initial burst from Alchemist and Nitrix. Both very, very strong, as an attempted red buff steal there by Schleien. I'm So Fresh, not quite successful.
And this is really smart as well from Leona, because the magic resist is going to negate some of the damage that Lissandra does. Lissandra is a high AoE burst champion. She wants to be in your face, popping off the Ring of Frost, popping off the Frozen Tomb as well. Leona is a melee champion known for engaging. There's only one direction with Leona, and that's go. It's going to be going in with Jarvan. So in doing so, you're placing yourself in the strength of Nitrix's Lissandra. Very smart pickup here from Leona. I really like that Spectral Scowl.
Bottom lane, Doigby forcing Alchemist away, at least for now. We'll be able to sustain up thanks to that wonderful happy hour passive. Engage in the mid lane. It's going to be ulting on to Schleia. Where's the ult away? He's going to mimic that distortion, comes back into the teamfight, but Nanook in the back blowing up Dignitas. Follow-up damage is Nook taken down pretty low. No one dead just yet. I'm surprised. Gonna take the ace and the hole does go down, and it's Samwise to pick up one kill. The engage from the bottom lane is Doigby will kick Impaler to safety. Barrel comes out from Alchemist to take down Dude, and it's a 2 for 2 now. Is Schleia re-engaging? Samwise destroying, or getting destroyed as look alongside my vocal cords. So if you want to count that, it's a 2 for 1 for Schleia. He does kill off Samwise and my poor throat. It's going to be a little bit of a re-engage as Doigby will find Impaler in the jungle. That's going to be Yarrow and Alchemist coming out and force the flash out. Doigby safeguarding away. Stays alive, but 2 for 2. With so much aggression. The engage was just ridiculous. Now it's actually maybe the burst damage back onto Impaler. Yeah, 3 real chains missed, but it's just too much. Schleia. Where does this damage come from? It comes from being 7-1.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is LeBlanc. she can burst people. That's a Vi who's got an Aegis of the Legion and a Spirit of the Ancient Golem, and just got insta-gibbed from LeBlanc. Yeah. That's 7-1. Rabadon's Deathcap, Deathfire Grasp. Insane burst damage.
Yeah. Keep in mind that LeBlanc used to be called Levi, but now there's just a blank there because there's no more Vi anymore, and that's about the same way that engagement went, as Schleia just starting to become an absolute monster. Looking for a Void Staff to come up next, so if you're hoping to stack magic resistance against that, probably not going to go your way. The Zhonya's Hourglass, both completed for Nitrix and Alchemist, will be both very effective at keeping LeBlanc's burst from being an issue, but at the same time, you're probably not going to see Schleia target either Alchemist or Nitrix. It's going to be Samwise, it's going to be Impaler, both heavy targets of Schleia in that last fight.
Oh yeah, definitely. Samwise would be the ideal character to just neutralize right now, but we see a lot in this meta of a lot of assassination champions with high burst damage that they also take support if needs be. They will definitely go for the likes of Yarrow because Thresh is such a big power play in team fights. The box, the Dark Passage, as you said, is a kind of counter to Cataclysm coming in from Jarvan. So if you can get a free kill on Yarrow Star, then why the hell not just go for that as well from Schleia's perspective? So definitely one to watch out for. But if she can burst down Vi instantly, you bet your bottom dollar she can do the exact same thing to Samwise in a heartbeat.
Push continues, resulting in the 6th turret of the game. All outer turrets down. Now Doigby gonna get pulled back in, flayed away from the safeguard. Now in a little bit of trouble. Goes for the Dragon's Rage onto Samwise. And we'll go ahead and be able to disengage for now. It's gonna be the Lee Sin ultimate down, but at the same time staying alive, being able to successfully take the turret and back out. It's gonna be completely worth it for Millenium.
I've got to say that Yarrow's Flays this game have been so on point, so good. Seen a couple times that he's cancelled away abilities, like the Flag and Drag from Jarvan, like the Safeguard, and that's not easy to do, guys. That is pixel perfect timing, right on the button. So definitely big props to Yarrow, but look at Lee Sin, or look at Doigby. He's like, okay, they're all going to push mid, I'll put some harassment down at the bot tower, and instantly forces Alchemist to bot lane just to defend. Now it's looking likely the rest of Millenium, knowing that they're incredibly strong, may try and bait a Baron.
Baron is up with Millenium having complete vision control of the area, will continue to clear out wards as Dignitas do lay them at their retreat. It's Alchemist bottom lane, and with Yarrow recalling, this is setting up a very strong Baron potential there for Millenium, but instead of going for that, they will just continue to starve out the jungle, take away the buffs from Dignitas. And now Dignitas, they're waiting in their base, just trying to clear out the middle minion wave. All inhibitors, all base turrets up for now, but that's about all they have left.
They are running out of space right now, Dignitas, and this is what I was saying before about a sense of urgency, that they can't afford to lose any more ground. They're doing a good job of being able to pick up their own red buff here, to be fair to them, and that's mainly down to the fact that Doigby is busy taking down Dragon, and therefore has no presence in their red part of the jungle. But this is what I'm talking about. They are losing these objectives thick and fast, and they're in no position in terms of power over the map to even try and contest this dragon. There is no way they can go down to dragon and check it out, because if they do so, they can either get caught, because have a look at the vision right now. Zero vision over the bottom side of this map right now for Dignitas UK. It's all situated around Baron, and even then there's only a couple wards there for them. It's a really scary position for them to be in. If they get caught out of position from a LeBlanc, you're going to die very quickly.
Now for LeBlanc, Schleia with that Void Staff now completed after Death Cap. I'm not sure what the next item is going to be other than maybe a little bit more AP from a Zanya's Hourglass, but sweet lord. Schleia up at 500 ability power. Alchemist in his own right, only sitting at 324, so about 175 behind in that respect. Still going to be effective. Does have a Deathfire Grasp as his second item. I saw them around the Fiendish Codex come out, and I could only have assumed that that was going into an Athene's Unholy Grail, because that's a core item on Gragas, but foregoing that for even more burst in the form of that Deathfire Grasp means that Alchemist is actually looking to accomplish basically the same thing that Schleia is, playing it much more like an AP assassin rather than a mobile sort of wave clearing Gragas machine.
Yeah, I think it's a case of realizing that LeBlanc is very maneuverable, is just trying to nuke her really fast in those fights. So Deathfire Grasp, Explosive Cask, Barrel Roll is a lot of quick fire damage coming down on LeBlanc, who may very well not have enough time to react to that because has not gone for the Zhonya's Hourglass. It's not really a needed item on LeBlanc because of maneuverability, but Spectral's Cowl suggests Banshee's Veil will be coming in as that fourth item that you were having a quick ponder about before Rapid, and honestly, smart pickup from her.
Absolutely. This is a little bit of a deviation from like North America's CLG Hotshot GG's build. Is known for just being a god of LeBlanc, and after about 1,000 games for that champion since release, it loves to go Rylai's Crystal Scepter instead of the Death Cap and build a lot tankier, including, like you mentioned, that Spectre's Cowl into drawing a blank on the item name.
Banshee's Veil.
Banshee's Veil, there we go. Ever since they made it not have mana anymore, I'm a little bit disappointed with that. Ethereal Chains will land onto it. Impaler is actually going to be a little bit of an engage there as Nitrix gets blown apart way ahead of the rest of his team. Now it's I'm So Fresh getting in there, immediately drops Cataclysm, and then double drops his. The engage from Impaler. Doigby in the front, Nanook in the back, Ignites burning down, stays alive, no! Will go down, there's the shutdown from Yarrow. I'm thinking they double stacked Ignites there, both Alchemist and Yarrow, but either way, Nitrix just getting taken out before the fight even started. Schleia going back in, there's the Ignite onto Yarrow. The follow-up damage from Doigby gets in there to pick up the third kill. That engagement for Millenium, and so 3 for 1, they will disengage off onto the Baron. That's the right call, Metas.
I'm not too sure about this because Alchemist is still going to do a lot of damage. They could be trying to bait this one out. Here comes Doigby again, lands another Resonating Strike and the Sonic Wave combo. Alchemist running away. Samwise is full HP, so they need to keep wary of that, and is doing a fair chunk of damage. So I feel maybe it was more of a baiting attempt to try and get Schleia into position to nuke down Alchemist. It just didn't really pay off for them because Samwise is full HP and still quite scary.
It's interesting to see Doigby try to use that Sonic Wave to get back to the Creep Wave faster, but it actually is so strong that it killed the minion, so he had to walk all the way there. Doigby gonna start to actually do a lot. He's built a Last Whisper on top of that Ravenous Hydra and Hexdrinker, but has then built full defensive items since then, completing his Randuin's Omen on top of a Guardian Angel that is still up. Is going to be a huge source of engage, knowing that if he gets bursted down when he goes in, he has a second life, he has the Hexdrinker shield, both of which are going to be huge in mitigating all the burst damage that's coming at his face, and if it's going towards Doigby, it's not going towards Schleia, it's not going towards Nanook, and with I'm So Fresh right there in the buddy system, Schleia going to get dragged out there by the death sentence there with you. A little bit of a rough situation, but Millenium stay alive.
You actually hit the nail on the head there, but I was going to say the exact same thing, that if Lee Sin's Guardian's Angel gets popped, That's a lot of damage that's not being put on the carries and the real threats here. So completely agree with what you just said. And even if these death sentences come in, I'm not too sure that Dignitas UK want to engage on Jarvan. It's not the smartest idea. Schleier's going in. Absolutely decimates Impaler. Here comes the Solar Flyer as well. This could be the team fight they've been looking for. Nitrix instantly zoning his Hourglassing and Frozen Tombing away. Here comes Nanook, however. He's being focused down. Legendary Schleier in the backside. Nitrix flashing through the wall. Here comes a Glacial Path as well. Will manage to escape, but in the meanwhile, Doigby hasn't had his Guardian's Angel popped, and he's playing so aggressive. Legendary Schleier again picks up the 11th kill, chasing after Nitrix. Glacial Path goes through, but whiffs a tiny bit, and he will be punished for that mistake, with Nanook coming in. 3-for-0 trade, soon to be a 4-for-0 as Caitlyn gets absolutely smashed.
Does Doigby ever stop? This guy just has one direction, and that is in whichever direction that happens to be. Schleier as well. It's exactly like we talked about before that team fight even started. So much burst damage put onto Doigby, onto I'm So Fresh, even onto Schleier too, who was tanky enough to stay alive as well. And after that, it's going to be a 4-for-0. Millennium looking to close out game number 2. GG's. Called by Dignitas. The Nexus turrets fall. The Nexus soon to follow. The ace for Millennium. They're taking it to a game number 3.
And you got your wish, Rapid. You wanted the third game, and Millennium have delivered. So it currently stands at a 1-1 scoreline. Best possible comeback from Millennium after that first game snowball that they were on the receiving end of. So, man, I am so looking forward to this game 3.